Hi, so we're going to do a hot take video. Having the right answers and understanding why those answers are the right answers are two different things. And when it comes to political discourse, I find that those two things are often separate from each other. And I think that it's great that there's a lot of young people that are getting involved in politics and expressing answers that I perceive to be the correct answers. There's a lot of young people that identify as liberal or progressive or Democrat, whatever Democrat means in the United States these days, and they will say things like slavery is wrong, racism is wrong, sexism is wrong, and they're correct. These are things that are wrong, and historically they have proven to be bad systems with bad consequences. But most of these people that you ask about why they have these views won't really be able to give you a deep answer. A lot of these people are decent people, but just because they express a worldview that is good does not make them also good. And that's not to say that there aren't good and bad people in the world. There are good and bad people in the world, but the things that make those good and bad people who they are not necessarily their beliefs. It's why they believe and what they do with those systems of belief. So if you have a young person who is upper middle class, or what's left of the middle class on the East Coast, and they're educated and they come to a conclusion either through being raised a certain way or being educated a certain way that poverty is bad and slavery is bad and fascism is bad, but they can't explain why, then I don't see that person as true in their understanding or their practice of that belief. I also see that person as harmless because, like I said, it's a very shallow thing. Now, if you look at the other side and you have a person who favors a very radical fascist worldview, or someone who thinks that slavery was a good thing and that it should be brought back, or thinks that sexism is a good thing, well, people are going to be quick to jump down that person's throat and call them a monster and call them mean names and call them a Nazi. But that doesn't mean that the person who said those things is actually a monster, or is actually a Nazi, or is actually a fascist. They have a belief. And just like the young liberal progressive, that does not necessarily mean that the belief that these people have is one that they understand the reasons behind. They don't understand the why necessarily. And if they don't know the why, then chances are they're not dangerous either. And it's unfortunate that we live in a time where we have to categorize people by whether or not they're dangerous. Because that's how things are. People are blowing stuff up. People are shooting stuff up. It's crazy. But let's not get lost in the pandemonium here, and let's remember that just because somebody has a different view than us, or a different belief system, doesn't make us bad and them good, or them bad and us good. It doesn't automatically put us into some kind of weird alignment scale. And just the same, if you have a person who has a belief that is not popular, and then you debate that person, you say, well, why do you believe X? And they say, I believe X because, and they give you a detailed reason. They give you historical literature, they give you scientific literature. They say, well, I feel this way because, and they give you a deep reason for it. Then I think that that person is perhaps more valid in their conviction than somebody who says, well, I don't support XYZ because it's bad, or because it's mean, or because it's unfair. Because fairness is a subjective thing, and bad is a subjective thing, and mean is a subjective thing. So we're dealing with reality, which is itself based on perception, and perception is itself subjective. Now, let's blow this up and zoom out a bit. So on a world scale, you have political organizations and groups that are by their nature designed to get as many people to be part of them as possible, because the goal is to make money and change policy or make new policy. So anybody, anywhere, can get up on a soapbox, take out a megaphone, and say, I am Group A, or I am Group B, I am a Democrat, I am a Republican, I am a liberal, I'm a conservative, whatever. They can say, I am part of this group, followed by some highly inflammatory, nutso-crazy-town, banana-pants statement. And then the group that is opposed to that group will say, well, look, these people are crazy. These banana-pants people must be crazy. And that does not mean that those people are crazy. It does not mean that the person on the soapbox is crazy. It doesn't mean that anybody's crazy. It means that the fundamental way in which we categorize political, social, cultural, and religious groups is not based on any sort of real litmus test or consistently enforced understanding of things. It's based on feelings. It's based on a subjective and situational scale that's constantly moving and almost impossible to pin down. So when you're having a debate with somebody about politics or anything, really, you have to keep in the back of your mind the fact that they might not necessarily be opposed to you or a good or bad person. They may not necessarily really understand the why behind what they're saying. And none of these things are a reason to attack them, just like none of these things are a reason for them to attack you. At the end of the day, we're all human. We all have a common goal. We're all trying to survive here, man. So please, just be patient with people. Even if they have feelings about things and beliefs about things that you don't necessarily agree with. At the end of the day, we're all human. And we need to remember that.